Malvakos Blightseer had lived in darkness for as long as he could remember. His empty eye sockets void of life. His blindness had twisted his heart, and over the years he had grown obsessed with seeing the world in some way, anyway, no matter the cost. He lived in a small, lone cabin on the edge of the forest, isolated from the village where people whispered his name with a shudder of fear.
Malvakos is dangerous,
they said.
Cursed.
But Malvakos had a secret, one that brought him vision each day as long as the sun graced the sky. A crow, sleek and as black as midnight, was his only companion. He had named the bird Noctis. Malvakos had trained Noctis to pluck the eyes of the living and bring them back to him. Once placed into his hands, Malvakos would press the stolen orbs to his empty sockets, and through some dark magic, he could see again, using the pilfered vision until sunset. It was a grotesque ritual, but Malvakos cared little for the lives lost or the horror inflicted. His hunger for sight overpowered any sense of guilt. Each morning, Noctis would disappear into the misty woods, returning hours later with fresh, glistening eyes. Malvakos would sit in his rocking chair, eagerly awaiting the sound of flapping wings. He'd place the eyes into his skull, and the world would explode into vivid color and shape. He could see trees, clouds, the golden rays of sunlight, all the beauty he had been deprived of for so long. But only until dusk. When the sun dipped below the horizon, his vision would fade, and darkness would consume him once again. He would have to wait for Noctis to bring him more eyes the following morning. The morning arrived, but Noctis did not. Malvakos waited, his hands trembling with anticipation, then with confusion, then with panic. Hours passed, and the familiar beat of wings never came. His cabin seemed to close in on him, suffocating. Darkness swallowed him whole.
Where are you, Noctis?
He muttered, pacing the room, his hands running over the rough walls as if he could somehow touch the world he could no longer see. But nothing came. His stomach churned, sickness welling up inside him. He collapsed into his rocking chair, nausea overtaking him. His body convulsed, and he began vomiting, a thick, viscous stream of blood spilling from his lips. His breath grew ragged, his chest heaving. Malvakos screamed, calling out for Noctis, but only silence greeted him. Far away, in the forest, a lone traveler walked along a narrow path. The trees around him dripped with an odd, sticky substance. Curious, the man approached one tree and noticed something unnatural, a dark liquid, thick as blood, oozing from the bark. His heart pounded as he stepped closer, and he looked up. High in the branches, Noctis stared back. The man froze, but before he could react, an invisible force consumed him, wrapping around him like icy fingers. The man's scream was cut short, and his body crumpled to the ground, lifeless. Noctis was protecting his nest. In it, sets of human eyes lay, glossy and wet. The crow no longer served Malvakos. No longer did it collect eyes for him. Now, the eyes were for Noctis alone. The crow was no mere bird. It had been an ancient evil all along, an entity that fed on the sight of others, growing stronger with each stolen gaze. Malvakos had been a tool, used for its wicked purpose. Now, free from the blind man's need, Noctis collected eyes for its own hunger, hoarding them in its nest, the last of Malvakos' sight, forever lost to the darkness.